the start of the pandemic, what I call my sister from another mother, Principal Tammy Taylor, and I started creating Educate LLC. And the reason we started that platform, the platform we started was the collaborative. What we were seeing was that we were both educators, we were both educational leaders. We were hearing a lot from students, teachers, and parents, the complaints of, it's too much work being sent home. The parents didn't really understand how to work with their children. The children were frustrated. Everybody was frustrated, but no one was really talking to one another, just more about one another and pointing fingers. So we started the collaborative in order to minimize that, to bring everyone into the same space, and to bring awareness to what needed to happen during the pandemic in order for our students to best be educated with the help of parents and the educators that were sending them, the work that was needing to be done at home. In 20 years, I hope to have accomplished a lot. Definitely inspiring others, definitely an inspiration and example for not just my two daughters, but several other girls in the community and in other places that I work with, people that I mentor, educators that I mentor. But I really hope that I have made an impact on education and children. We have a program through Create and Educate called the Knowledge Academy for Girls, and it focuses on providing cultural relevant education specifically for girls, but we also work with a partner who focuses on African American males. We were able to raise our school report card grade levels, 2 grade levels in 1 year. A lot of the basis of that had to do with making sure that cultural relevant pedagogy, literacy, the knowledge was there for students. So we really have placed a great deal of that in our program, the Knowledge Academy for Girls. And the person that we work with, we're partnering for the young men, is doing the same thing for young men as well. It's so important for African American girls and males to understand exactly who they are. And a lot of times that is not taught in school. They see imagery that is, not very representative of who they actually are. They really don't know their true culture or true heritage, that so many things that are here in our culture was derived from the ancient culture of Africa. So when you know that, you operate differently. And when we really start to educate our children, they will know who they are and can come into their own. So in 20 years, I hope that several children have been inspired to be able to do. Great day. Welcome, everyone. We are entering another season of the collaborative. So thank you all for joining us. Hi, Tammy. How are you?
Hey, Shika. I'm good. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
We are excited to go into season 3 of the collaborative, where we bring educators, parents, community members together in order to solve problems in education. And also the guests that we are bringing on currently are telling us how they are keeping it real with the framework that Tammy and I have created around the work that we do for improving schools. We're very excited to meet all of the great people that we will be meeting in Gaston County on Thursday.
Definitely.
So we are very excited about that. We'll be working with some of their leaders and just sharing our story of school improvement. If this is your first time tuning into the collaborative or any of our platforms, Dr. Tammy Taylor and I are known as the leadership doctors. And we work with schools with school improvement, helping schools and leaders improve their culture. We work with leaders in principal leadership coaching and leadership team training. So if those are any of the services that you need, please let us know. We are also helping some schools with literacy as well. So we are excited about the guest that we have with us today. He's going to be telling us about the work that he has been doing, how it connects to the R.E.A.L. framework, because it's very applicable to many different things, especially when you're talking about organizational improvement. And he is recently just completed his doctorate as well. So today we're going to be the 3 doctors instead of the 2 doctors.
Congratulations.
So we're going to bring up Dr. Gaston Woodland. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be on you guys' platform.
We're excited to have you on with us.
Definitely.
And we are definitely excited to share who you are with everybody. So I'm going to share your bio. Dr. Gaston Woodland has been a teacher of record for 6 years, but has been a teacher in his local congregation for over 10 years. He has worked as a curriculum coordinator for the Boys and Girls Club in the greater Kansas City area. Dr. Woodland has also worked as an executive director and founder of his nonprofit, the Woodland Education Center. He has provided professional development for teacher preparation programs in some schools. Dr. Woodland prides himself pushing against low expectations for students and pushing to find the genius in every student. Dr. Woodland is a graduate of University of Kansas City, Missouri, with a degree in sociology. Dr. Woodland earned 2 masters, one in curriculum and instruction, and the other in urban education. Dr. Woodland recently earned his EDD in education with an emphasis in continuous improvement, innovation, and change from Concordia, Wisconsin. Dr. Woodland is an author of the following books: She Looks Like All Things, The Boy with 100 Shoes, You Look Like All Things, Rhyming Words Coloring Book, and Phenomenology of African American Male Teachers. Dr. Woodland has a YouTube channel also where he creates educational rap songs for elementary kids. He is a talented and experienced professional who is passionate about youth and transforming the education community. Welcome, Dr. Woodland.
Thank you. I was like, well, that's me, huh?
That's you.
Definitely welcome. And we're going to have to get with you about that YouTube video and the music that you make for elementary children that fits into some of the work that we do with reading and the rhyming books as well.
Definitely.
That'll be awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
So we are all about collaboration and happy to have you here to share. One of the things that I heard Tammy read in your bio as well is that so with your platform where you're making the rap songs, tell us a little bit about the types of songs.
Yeah, so I am making songs for primarily like the pre-K to the second grade. Being a middle school teacher for so long, they're kind of like, they see me as like being corny. They're like, Mr. Woodland, we don't want to hear you rap. But one of my biggest songs was Rhyming Words. And when I put that out, man, it got, right now it's like 2 million views right now. Yeah. And so, yeah, I try to do the foundational pieces, the short O, the long I. I try to do, phonemic awareness. I try to do sight words. I have a daughter that's 4 years old and I have a son that's 8. So my son actually is the one that got me started. My very first song was Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes. And, he liked it. And after I became an educator, then I started getting start looking at standards, Common Core standards, looking at TEKS. And then I'm like, okay, well, let me take this, let me put a nice beat on it. I try not to make the music sound corny. So whatever it's like a sound on the radio, I try to take that sound and make it, where the kids will identify with that sound and they won't know that they're actually learning at the same time. So that's kind of like my bait and switch with the music.
I love that. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah,
Definitely fits into the work that we do with literacy. So we will get that from you. And it sounds like it's popular.
yeah, yeah. I got about 16,000 subscribers on my YouTube. So
Oh, that's
we're
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
So, if you've tuned into the collaborative before, we normally start with on this day in history, and we're thankful for our partner Josh Tovar from Texas. He posts daily about what everything you could imagine is happening on this day in history. So, when Tammy and I went to his page, today is Spider-Man Day and Girlfriends Day. So,
Um,
I think Spider-Man is Marvel, right?
He is.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's Marvel.
I wanted to make sure before I put that out there. I'm definitely a Marvel person, and we're all always about our girlfriends.
Oh, yes. And we love Spider-Man. So,
Yeah.
girls, make sure you call up your girlfriends and tell them Happy Girlfriend's Day.
And if you have any girlfriends that are friend girls, Dr. Woodley, you
Yes,
tell
please
them too.
call them.
And the other thing that we like to do is just a little quick game of would you rather for the people that are tuning in, just for them to get to know you a little better.
Okay.
So I know that you are in administration or have been in administration. So usually this is our administrators edition.
Okay.
Are you a key jingling administration that we see on the famous TikTok observers making all the noise, or are you creeping in quietly for your observations?
Uh, I once call it creeping, but coming in quietly.
Okay.
Just coming in. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And are you click clacker dress shoe type of brother or nice leather tennis shoes?
You know what? I'm transitioning to the tennis shoes because those nice shoes it hurts your back and your feet by the end of the day. So
Well, I'm glad to hear that women are not the only people that experience that problem.
I'm so excited to know.
oh
Never
yeah,
heard that before. So,
Me
thank
either.
you for sharing.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And are you a sit down to lunch or lunch on the go?
Lunch on the go. Yeah,
Lunch on
yeah. You know, it's always something going on. So we just keep it moving.
right. And it's hard a lot of times when you're administration to really get
Yeah.
that balance in there. So some
Mm,
people, it depends on how much experience you have, if you can figure out how to get it in there. And then some
mhm,
people are still working on that. So, all
yeah.
right. Well, it's good to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the real framework and hear a little bit more about the work that you're doing. Tim is going to start us off.
Okay.
Definitely. So, you know that our real acronym stands for respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. So, we just want to talk to you tonight to see how you're keeping it real in the work that you're doing. And we want to start off with that respect
Mhm.
aspect of the framework. Tell us about respect in your work.
Yeah. Respect is I see it first respecting the students. You
Hmm.
know, respecting the students, respecting their families, and also respecting the field of education. I think that, you know, those are the kind of the main pieces when I talk about respect because, you know, everybody does not respect our students. You know, like as when I say not respect, as far as giving them a voice, listening to them, hearing them, you know, I think that's a level of respect that every student deserves, and also their families. You know, we may have families that are A1 families, that are hands-on families, and then you may have some that just drop them off at school. But even in that, they still deserve to be respected, considering that we don't know the situation at home. We don't know what's happened generationally. So when you come from that cloth a little bit, you don't forget that, you know. So I think of respect, and then also for the field of education. You know, all across the world, all across the country, you know, there are a lot of people that are working very hard for solutions to break barriers, to reform, and to transform, you know, the education field. So I respect the field that much to not come in and just be regular and just sit down and not do my job. I respect it that much. So when I think about respect, I think about it on those levels.
I love that response because you're right. Sometimes people look at children kind of like that old way where we came up, where you're seen and you're not heard, and those types of things.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we do have to respect that our children have feelings, they have voices, and we have to teach them how to navigate the world. So I love that response.
And I think it's very amazing that you shared how sometimes, and people I don't think always think about this, but sometimes it's very easy for us, if you have walked in the shoes of a child, to be able to respect them regardless
yes,
of the baggage that they bring
yeah,
or the animosity that comes through
yes,
and the aggression that they might show.
yeah,
But you still can respect because you feel for the situation.
Mhm.
yeah. Because I was something else. I ain't gonna even lie. Boy, I don't know if I could. Yeah. So I think back on that, and I had to check myself. When you get a kid that was you, and you're like, man, okay, I understand what's under that, and you're still a kid, and you're trying your best to navigate, and it may not come out respect to me, but I'm gonna respect you enough to understand. So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah,
So that brings us to excellence in our
Mhm.
framework. In our work with schools, we talk about making sure that expectations are set high for students and staff. What types of levels of excellence is included in your work that you would like to talk with us about?
yeah. What's included in my work as far as excellence? I think it starts with you as an individual, as the leader, to hold yourself to a level of excellence in modeling that, even when you don't want to, or when you don't feel like it. I think that right there in my work is doing the work, putting in the time, even when you feel like, okay, I've learned this, or maybe I think I've mastered this, but it's like, no, it's continuously changing. So I hope you hold yourself to excellence over and over and over again. And also, in my work, the people that I'm working with, beyond just the students, you hold them to a level of excellence too, because it all plays a part in our efforts, and it plays out into the end results, whether it's directly to the kid or the organization or the school to actually develop. So if we're not holding that line to excellence, we're going to end up being just a status quo. And I think those of us that are really about this, that's unacceptable.
I agree.
For sure.
Yeah,
And I think that excellence has to be our standard in
yeah,
order for us to get our kids where they really need to go.
yeah.
Um, Talk to us about accountability. What does accountability look like, and how do you inspect the things that you expect?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say it again. Holding myself to high accountability as a person first. And when I say hold myself to accountability, it's just like I think that's kind of dealing with your character and integrity. When nobody's around, nobody's looking. Like, what are you actually doing? And then when you say accountable, sometimes as leaders, sometimes you got to find an accountability partner. When you're, of course you got like, assistant superintendents, they're going to hold you accountable, but sometimes that could not be up to what you really expect of yourself. So I think that when we talk about accountability, is just really like holding yourself to the fire, because sometimes you could be in environments where the accountability is not that high, and sometimes people adapt to that lack of or low level of accountability, and they just roll with the flow. But when you hold yourself accountability, the environment won't change you. You're going to change the environment. So when we talk about that, I think that's what I look at accountability, and what are you holding yourself accountable to? You know, you gotta have some values. You gotta have some principles about yourself to be held accountable to. And everybody has different ones, but I think in this work, you know, it has to be high with integrity, dealing with our kids, dealing with staff, dealing with the community. You know, we want to be as stand up and accountable as possible to have that end result, whether it be a data result, whether it just be impacting the kid's life, or you know, it's whatever to that leader. So yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned about some of like your superintendent or your district level leader holding you accountable. One thing that we found in the work that we are doing with leadership coaching with principals,
Mm.
when they are able to self-select their own coach for themselves, they have talked about how they're able to really be more authentic, more vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you don't want people to know that you don't know certain things when
Yeah.
they're your superior. So, you know, that ability to be able to be your authentic self with
Yes.
coaches who, you know, you can rely on for that accountability helps when you really can be true about what you really need to be held accountable for, because sometimes that won't come through with people that you report to.
Yes. Yes.
So that was a good point that you made.
Yeah.
You've kind of already talked to us a little bit about literacy and
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that you're doing with literacy, but tell us, you know, some of the other things. You have several books that you've written
Yeah.
with the rhyming. Just tell us a little bit about that and what got you into that.
Yeah. So, you know, we talk about culture, you know, that's important. We look at the sound of rap, you know, that's ours. You know, we made that, you know. So I don't know anybody, you know, of Black American people that, or the world, but it started here in America, and that has not been impacted or ever wrote a rap. I'm sure y'all done wrote some raps or something before or tried.
You probably don't want to hear them.
but but you know, that's cultural, you know. So I was always a young kid. I had an uncle. He was a big inspiration to me. He would rap, you know. I would watch him record it on this karaoke machine, and you know, I grew up starting to do that. I would sit in the house and listen to a rap and write it down, and you know, so you know, growing up, and you know, my mom, you know, started going to church, and we, you know, I started to, you know, I would say God started working on me, you know, and I found an outlet, and I started gospel rapping for some time. And you know, I did some shows and all of that. You know, I got older and married and kids, and I said, "Man, what are you doing rapping still? You too old," you know. But I found it through my profession, and that genre of sound is so global. And I realized that. I said, "Okay, how can we learn through rap?" And then, you know, I just started using it. I started using it, and it just kind of caught like a fire, you know. And it's like so fun to make, you know, because I really respect the art of rapping. But outside of the rap piece, you know, I keep it real through literacy. You know, I always say ELA is the most naked um, content, because this is reading and writing, speaking and listening. So when you have that, it you can dress it with anything. I mean, you can have a lot of REAL classes that are content specific. You can have a REAL real estate, REAL, you know, you can match it with anything. So with that being said, you know, I try to, with that reading and writing, I always try to dress, when, you know, I was in the classroom, I would try to dress it up with culturally responsive content. Because you know, we gotta do the uh, the standardized testing. You know, we have to do that. But I always will meet them on the ground with stuff that they knew. So I'm going to put some. We're going to do some figurative language, some development of ideas through Rod Wave, or some of the little babies. We're gonna bring that in there, and we're gonna run our standards through that. and I can give you something to write with on it as well. So through ELA, I saw the power in just running so many things through. Once you understand the standards, especially Common Core standards, and I'm not trying to promote them, but I feel like they're probably the more rigorous out of, you know. So yeah, so with ELA, that literacy piece, I found a way to even using the rap, just meeting my kids at the ground level, and then I will scaffold them and get them to standardized text, because we know it's a bias. The state testing does not show them in it their culture or anything, but it's just skills though. So if I can get you at the ground level, you should be able to perform those skills on any text I give you. So I was able to leverage that throughout my years in the classroom, and it worked pretty well because my kids will score very well, and I didn't just standardize them the whole year. We started in their world and we ended up in another world, but they knew how to combine it and they knew what it was about. So yeah.
That's awesome. I like that. And that's something that we preach as well. This content, it doesn't have to be boring. The more personalized it is, the more relevant it is to students, the more engaging it's going to be for them. So
Absolutely.
that hip hop aspect of it. When we were at a conference, they had what was the name of the museum that we saw? They had a traveling Black History Museum. So there was a whole section on hip hop.
Okay.
So we didn't realize how ignorant we are when it comes to hip hop, because we didn't even know half of the people who were there. But it was really interesting to see how much he talked about how they were so influential in so many social justice fights and those types of things. So,
yeah, it was very informative. The Black History
I'm
Traveling
just
Museum.
more of an R&B girl.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you this though. This is just a little. I'm glad you said that because I'm an R&B man as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I really think that music. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I know we're talking about rap.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you can put anything to that reeler though. You can literally have an R&B and run the whole year on R. I mean, think of Monica for You I Will. That is a perfect song for personification.
That's
I'm
true.
just saying, so I'm with you. That can work though.
That's true. And I like gospel too. So
and I like gospel music.
Yeah.
I was a little bit lost at the museum. I was asking she guessed now who was that? And she said, "Oh my God."
Yeah, normally I'm the person that knows stuff, but then some of them I was like, I don't know.
Hey, man. You gotta keep an ear. You gotta keep an ear to the streets.
Definitely.
That's true. You're right about that.
We're learning, I promise. But we're gonna go into that last reel of our acronym, which is leadership. And for us, leadership is crucial because it's embedded in every aspect of the framework. But we just want you to talk to us about your mission, your vision, and the systems you have in place to maintain those things.
Yeah. So when we talk about just leadership, I think there's different ways to lead, and I believe in servant leadership as well. I believe that's like on the ground, but I also think a leader. You can look and pay attention to those that led before you or those that are leading present. I think a leader has to have their own mind in many aspects. So my whole mission is to lead transformatively, and that what that meaning is, let's respect the traditional approaches, to education. But our world is changing. The kids are changing. The culture is changing. So the transformation comes. I mean, anything you look at something like life cycle of a butterfly. We see that progression, that change, and I think that it has to happen. So when I say transformatively, is just knowing that when it's time to transform into something else, and knowing that the traditional approach has a good foundation, but we have to lead in a way that we're not afraid, lead in a way that still having an open mind, and that you're still okay with not getting so complacent that you stop learning and we get stuck. That's kind of my mission is transformation. How can we listen? How can we learn? How can we stay up to date and figure out what works and figure out, hey, I might have to abandon this. This is not it. We got to shake this thing up. We got to at least try this and not be afraid. So
We recently presented in Jacksonville on exactly what you're talking about. We called it revolutionizing education, because when you look at the studies of the generations that we serve, Generation Z, Generation Alpha, they're going to have Generation Z, I think, 18 jobs over their lifetime. So when we're saying we're preparing children to be college and career ready, are we preparing them for 18 different jobs, or are we sticking them into one slot? So when you say transform, we really do have to transform what we're doing in education.
Absolutely. Yes.
Shout out to Mr. Bratchford, who joins us. He's from Higher Definition Radio.
Okay.
He up here that he likes gospel. He also likes for the members of his church to continue to wear white usher shoes too. So we're working on him with that tradition.
Hey, like I said though, man, you literally, again, with R.E.A.L., man, you can run a class just off gospel songs. It you know what it's about? It's about the text. It's about the words.
Right.
We're gonna read, we're gonna write, we're gonna listen.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna discuss.
That's
you
it.
know? And I'll let you make a project out of it too. You know
exactly. And all of that is just personalized to the children. The more that you can get on their level to the things that they enjoy, the better it's going to be. When they're engaged in it, they're going to learn and actually get the things from it that you would like for them to get.
Absolutely.
So are there any other things that you would like to tell anyone that's tuning in before we move on to story time?
Yes, I would like to say that I just recently, maybe a month and a half ago, I published my dissertation into a book called The Phenomenology of African American Males. Any admin is looking to figure out or get an understanding of how to better recruit African American males into your school, how to retain them, how to empower them. This book will be for you to truly dive into, because it's a phenomenological of lived experiences of Black males. So their voice is the study. So I let them talk. I have my own recommendations and things of that sort, what I think after the study, but right now, African American males are 2% of the teaching population in the country. No, actually 1.3%. It's went down. It was 2% 4 or 5 years ago, and it's going down. So if you're looking to figure out what to do, I really think the study will be beneficial to all of our schools in the country. Someone
is saying for you to hold the book up if you have it. Do you have it nearby?
Oh, I don't even have it up by. I know who that is. My fans, he always tell me, you gotta promote it, but I don't have it right now, right with me.
Okay.
But it's available on Amazon.
Okay. All right. And what we'll have you do before we log off is type the link or the name in the chat where people can get it, and we'll put it in the comments. So anyone who is looking to purchase the book, we're going to have it in the comments in just a second. Do you see the chat feature over there to the right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, go ahead and type that in there.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, we are going to start transitioning to story time, We made Storytime a part of our platform when we started it 3 years ago. It was right at the start of the pandemic. We wanted to make sure that the advances that we had with our reading achievement at our schools didn't go down the tubes. So we were hoping to empower our families and students with story time and also model to families and parents how a read aloud could actually help the children. So story times are beneficial. Some people think it's only for small children, but I think there's adults who also like story time.
Yeah.
I like story time.
Me too. I love it.
Older children like story time too. They might not tell you, but they do like it. And with our older children, it's a great way to like start a conversation with them or talk about different topics or just to break the ice with them sometimes. So with younger children, you're going to help them to know sounds and words and language, develop their early literacy skills. They learn to value books and stories. It sparks their imagination and their curiosity, and it also helps with brain development, concentration, and their ability to focus. So, one of the quotes that we would always use during that time was, "There aren't children who hate to read. There are only children who have not found the right book." So, putting the right book into children's hands is definitely helpful. That's why we harp on teachers to make sure we build those relationships, because if you don't know your students, you will not be able to put the right books into their hands. And parents, we encourage you to be advocates for your children. When you're leaving your child with someone for 8 hours a day, they may know teaching, but they don't know your child like you do. So if you know that your child likes art, but they are not interested in reading some of the things that the teacher has, maybe provide those suggestions, or some literature that you know that your child would enjoy. So we are all a part of educating our children. It takes everyone. So Mr. Dr. Woodland is going to be reading for us. Could you tell us a little bit about the book? And we'll
Yes.
turn it over to you for story time.
Yes. So this book here, it's called "You Look Like All Things," and it was inspired by my son. One day we were walking in our neighborhood, and he's like 2, and we're walking around, and he says, a guy that was outside, he was like, "Hey, he looks like he's going to be like a football player," you know. And I immediately, stopped him. I'm like, "Well, why can't he be a doctor? Why can't he be a lawyer? Why don't you see that?" So I wanted to, with this book, I wanted to for young African American boys, and I have one for girls. It's called "She Looks Like All Things." I wanted them to take that "you look like" and take it to a higher level, other than just their bodies. Not to go anything against sports or anything of that sort, but I wanted them to read this and open up their mind and look at the possibilities for themselves. So that's the background to the book. So,
All right, love it. Can't
yeah.
wait to hear it.
All right. So this is the cover. You look like all things. All right. This is my author's note. I'm gonna read and then turn to it. Okay. This book is dedicated to all of the Black boys around the world who are only seen as athletes or entertainers. Remember, you can be more than the status quo. All right. You are special. Your abilities are infinite. Your identity, don't let the world define it. It does not matter if you're 10 feet tall. You are more than just playing basketball. These are the pictures. You look like an attorney that defends the innocent. You look like a business owner. Do you see that in yourself? You look like a visionary that will create generational wealth. You look like all things and not just one thing. Open up your mind to the possibilities of you being what you truly desire to be. You come from strong people who never gave up. Never look down on yourself. Lift your head up. You look like an accountant. I can see you managing major accounts, making so much money that you can't even count. You look like an entrepreneur. Yes, you look like someone who takes risks and someone that owns multiple businesses. I'm sorry, I'm kind of crooked. You look like all things and not just one thing. Open up your mind to the possibilities of you being what you truly desire to be. You look like a scientist. Yes, your thought process is that of a researcher. Your ideals will change the world. You look like someone that does more than just plays with a ball. Because of your brilliant mind, they will have plaques of your accomplishments hanging on walls. You look like a doctor of medicine. Yes, your hands will save lives. You look like an inventor. You absolutely look like a creator. Your thoughts are beautiful. Let them manifest great things. Yes, your natural body is strong, your feet are big, and your legs are long. When they say, play for my team, I want you to yield. Your greatness is not always made for a football field. You look like all things and not just one thing. Open up your mind to the possibilities of you being what you truly desire to be. You look like an influencer. Yes, you look like a leader. When it's dark, become the light. Your future is bright. You look like all things and not just one thing. Open up your mind to the possibilities of you being what you truly desire to be. You look like a mayor. Yes, you look like someone that can be the head of a city.
Love the illustrations. It's really good.
You look like a city councilman. Yes, you look like a person that will fight for the needs of your community. You look like an astronaut. Yes, you can go to the moon. Study really hard and you will get there soon. You look like a teacher. Yes, you look like someone that can educate youth. You will impact the lives of your students by telling them the truth. You look like a team owner. Yes, you can be like Michael Jordan and live your dream. And later on, you can own your own team. Yeah, that teacher doesn't really look like me, but you look like all things and not just one thing. Open up your mind to the possibilities of you being what you truly desire to be. The end.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And books like that are so powerful. I know we all probably can relate to a lot of times when we do ask our African American males like what they would like to be when they grow up. A lot of things that they mention are the athletes or the rappers or things that they see in the media, people who they consider to be successful or making the money.
Yeah.
And it's because we have to make sure, just like your book does, exposing them to more of those possibilities. So I like that through literature. I like that through camps because unless children are experiencing different things, they don't really know what they want to do. They just have ideas of what they may like. But if we're not putting them in different things. I was always grateful for all of the camps that my mom allowed me to be a part of, or the different activities, the internships that I did. I thought I was going to work at the hospital, and I quickly found out that I don't like germs. So, until you have those experiences, you really don't know what you really like. So,
what, one thing that I found, like, even I'm just thinking about it in my research, is that
mhm,
a lot of the participants expressed that a lot of times the experiences that African American boys have at the elementary level, it kind of their academic abilities are kind of crushed at the elementary level. So usually they don't even get far, or not even, they're your most at-risk population. So a lot of times they were discussing that, when it comes to them even becoming a teacher, a lot of times they don't even make it past high school to get there. And sometimes some of those that get through, sometimes they can't even handle the rigor, um, at the college level. Even as a teacher, the rigor becomes a problem and expectations because of the bad foundation. So that's why this book, was even before I, actually really knew how far I wanted to go in education, but it made sense, and it was confirmed through the research. So got to get that book. Y'all, administrators, y'all got to get it.
we will definitely be getting
For
it.
sure.
Yes, and put the link to the YouTube, the rap.
Okay.
Put that in the chat as well, and I'll share that for people to be able to use either in their classrooms or expose your children to it. One thing that we've learned about Generation Z and Alpha is they spend about 6 hours a day on YouTube.
Yeah.
I went home and told my children that I was taking the stuff to work from now on. Y'all ain't gonna be on here in YouTube land all day. So making sure that they're watching educational things, though, would be a lot more helpful than just some of the things that they like to watch.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you sharing today, and we are enlightened by your work. It's very important work, and it's needed. So thank you for what you do, and we appreciate you sharing for story time as well.
Oh, no problem. And I appreciate you guys and what you're doing and just having me on. Like, I mean, that was Dr. Houston, we talked and you like, hey, yeah, so I appreciate you because, after getting a doctorate degree, it's kind of like exposure at this point, to let people hear your expertise or respect it versus just having a title, because we know it's deeper than that. There's a lot of work behind it. So I just appreciate you guys' platform and kind of letting the light shine on me just a little bit. So I appreciate you guys.
We enjoy having you.
And likewise, we gotta come. Y'all gotta have me back. We gotta do something else. Like, come on.
Yeah, we definitely will. And we know that you're going to continue to do great things.
Absolutely.
And just the fact that you were able to take your dissertation work and turn it into a published work is an art form in itself. A lot of people spend all of that time on dissertations that just sit on shelves. We've talked about that, about how companies and industry, they do a lot of research on our children, and in education, we do research and sometimes we don't do anything with it. So, we've got to do better in that area because we're losing our children as far as the dropout rates, their interest. I just saw something today about the number of students that are going into a school year in a certain area that thousands of them are classified as homeless. We really got to make sure we're meeting all of the needs of our children. That SEL, that MTSS component is very important, and just finding out where they are with things. Are they even coming to school ready to learn? So it's just lots of work to do. We like to highlight voices that are doing great things. So we thank you for reaching out and coming on with us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys as well. Appreciate it.
And put in the comments how people can get in touch with you. They have the link to your book, and we're going to end the show, but if you'll stay on while we end the show. Thank you all for joining us on the collaborative. Make sure you tune in with us on Saturday for the R.E.A.L. Academy. That is every Saturday at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. We are part of the Fantastic Four, where we start off with Principal Sean Hurt out of Detroit, Michigan. The R.E.A.L. Academy with the leadership doctors, Dr. Tammy Taylor and I, are at 10:30, and then Principal Kafele is next with his new, is it AP? Tell me how to say it, Tammy. He's changed the name.
Virtual AP and New Principals
Academy, yes. And then on Sundays at 7:30, Unlock the Middle with Dean, Josh, and Chris. So we appreciate you all for tuning in with us, and we are going to end the show. Thank you, Miss Dot.
Thank
you have
you,
a blessed
Dot.
evening as well.
Yes, and you guys have a great rest of your week.
And I forgot to play the promo at the beginning, so forgive me.
Join Sheikah and Tammy on the collaborative. Let's go!
The collaborative.
1, 2, 1, 2.
The collaborative.
What's that time?
On Facebook Tuesday at 7.
The collaborative. Who we have? Come on.
We have our leaders, we have our teachers and our parents, we have our authors. Story time at the end, solving problems in our education system. Phenomenal women.
Join them on Facebook.
On Facebook Tuesday at 7. The collaborative.
It's that time. You're with Sheikah and Tammy.
The collaborative.
Phenomenal ladies. It's educational.